Well, all right. I saw the first episode of The Penguin, and it does take place almost immediately after the events of The Batman, which was a film I did not like. Um, it was impressive in its atmospherics and mood, and all that's here. It's like, they managed to maintain a rather consistent look of this version of Gotham City, and it's all on display there. And I imagine using some of the similar effects they used to create that for the film and what have you. And so, of course, it follows. They're calling him Oz Cobb, but I'm just guessing that's, they shortened the name. I don't know, but anyway, you're getting to know this disgusting slob, and as he claws for power, and all of that was pretty obvious from the setup. They pretty much told you, and I got it. It's a very good first episode. A lot about the Batman was that it was posing as this really great wonder. It had a lot of the trappings and decorations of such, but really, as long as you don't think about it, the story falls flat, and it just has a few elements of other things put in there, which can work and all that. But I was underwhelmed by it. I think Robert Pattinson could do a good Batman. I just don't think he got the chance in that film. Perhaps Batman Part 2 will be much better. And if it follows suit to how this is set up, and granted it's only one episode, but if it comes out of this, which that's already been stated by Matt Reeves, as the movie will pick up after this show, and that can only help it, I would think. So it's got a pretty good vehicle by which they tell the story. The Penguin ends up mentoring a new character in here and that sort of thing. And so that's how they're going to play out the story here. There's elements of it. Of course, it was already there from the Batman film of the Falcone family, and how they, of course, were fleshed out and depicted in The Long Halloween. But not directly. I mean, obviously the Sophia here in this TV is nothing like the Sophia, and certainly not physically in the comic book version. But the crime family and all that, and what's the result of Carmine having been killed in the movie, and the fallout there, and who will be the new kingpin, and of course, little do they know the Penguin is looking to take the crown. So anyway, it plays out very well. There's a lot of comedy in it, obviously very dark. It's pretty grisly, and in some of the scenes is a bit of a setup, and you think you know where it's going, and it's rather subtle. It's nothing like you're shocked or anything like that, but it is kind of surprising as to how it unfolds. So it's the first episode. It's very well done, and quite impressed with it, considering, granted, my own personal expectations are rather low because I was so disappointed in the Batman film. But this goes a long way to fix that, and it's its own animal at this point going forward. Would be cool, of course, if there were some Batman cameos, even if it's just a guy in the suit in the background or something like that. That would be cool. But we'll see how it unfolds. I don't think they're going to do that. Maybe at the end, and you kept it a closely guarded secret or something of that nature. But for the most part, this is completely Penguin's show. And so far, so good. One episode in, but certainly blows away having sat through 2 episodes of Agatha. Ooh, this is the polar opposite of that. Nothing boring, not boring at all. And but watching, and of course everyone said this, especially from the teasers and trailers and whatnot, and it's to be expected. This is, it's the Penguin doing The Sopranos, and yes, there's a lot of that there, and I think this is kind of the gimmick utilized here as the vehicle to portray this story. Similar to what they did with the Joker movie, in that it's taking from King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. So you take that, but then you have to weave it into its own. And for me, it worked. You know, you can say, well, it's cheap and silly, but if it had taken too much of a copy here and there in scenes, and there's some scenes that are pretty close. Especially, there's quite a few scenes from King of Comedy in the show, but nevertheless, and then throw in the surrealism and whatnot. It makes its own creation, and the same could be true here. So it's almost that's what they did. You know, the Joker got a sequel. They didn't. There was some talk about maybe we could do these films with other Batman characters and reimagine them as something else, and all the other villains, and or maybe I thought they could do a Citizen Kane take on Lex Luthor. You could do it. And in here, it's this mob boss story, this mobster story. For the Penguin, even though Batman does indeed exist in this world and whatnot, but for the most part, it's this crime show, and what he has to do to stay alive. You know, he has to manipulate everybody else, and how is he going to do that? And you see the vulnerabilities and weaknesses of him too that you didn't know about from the film, of course, but stands to reason you get more in-depth analysis, if you will, of who is the Penguin and all that. And well, you get this, and his protege here that joins in the first episode is kind of like the vehicle through which the audience can see him somewhat, and it sees the true life of the Penguin and all that sort of thing. So I can't help but recommend it. Hopefully it stays at this level of quality, and we'll see how this unfolds. I kind of guess where it's going to go, but how will they do it and how do they perform it matters overall. Even though some shows and what can have pretty good plot points and whatnot, but if the execution is sloppy and flounders, then it just won't work. And you know, you don't want to piss off your audience. No. Well, lately, been doing a lot of that for the past few years, but yeah, don't do that. So anyway, if this is the direction and if this level of quality can be maintained and achieved, then that gives me even more excitement for the Batman Part 2 or Batman 2 or however they're going to title it, for how they might approach that. Because, again, I'm very let down by the first film. But this show looks good. First episode, really good. And if they maintain it, then there you go. So anyway, just thought I'd toss my 2 cents in on this. And fingers crossed, and hope this is a really good show.